right, the deliberate practice cluster. Deliberate practice, by definition, is effortful and narrowly focused. It is challenging, but more rewarding than living in a state of addiction or maladaptive behavior. It is used to pre-plan and prepare for conditions of satisfaction. All right, deliberate practice. Let me put in perspective. Vince Lombardi said that perfect practice doesn't make perfect, perfect practice makes perfect. Practice is critical, but deliberate practice, and we've covered this in another video as well, is taking you very narrowly focused, very very focused down on a singular issue, such as, today I will be neutral in talking to my wife. Very narrowly focused. Today I'm going to practice being happy. Today I'm going to practice fill in the blanks. This is what deliberate practice is about. Very few people practice healthy relationships, practice being parents, practice getting along, practice going to church, practice being happy. We don't do things like that. Okay, so we're going to then take deliberate practice and understand that the model works this way. Deliberate practice goes to happiness, goes to joy, goes to well-being. So if I deliberately practice, I'll experience happiness, joy, and well-being. Let's define those. Happiness. Happiness is a state where behavior is congruent with stated goals and objectives. Okay? I'm going to be happy if I did my best practicing to be neutral. I'll be happy if I did my 10 push-ups because that was my goal. If I have an implementation statement that says, I'll do mindfulness at 7 a.m. in the morning in the car just before I go to work, and I do my mindfulness, I'm going to be happy. That's the definition. I'm simplifying it, and for good reason. Contextually, to be happy, and I've read The Happiness Hypothesis by Jonathan Haidt, incredible amount of research, but it's so much information. Let's just narrow down this and simplify it. Happiness then leads to joy. What's joy? A deep satisfaction from doing or accomplishing something significant. In order to accomplish it, I have to string together a bunch of happinesses. It is the capacity to behold the results of congruent behavior. Joy is agency in action. Well, what's agency? I'm glad you asked. Here, I'm going to make you uncomfortable. The probability of me taking you outside your 5% is very, very high. So what I'm going to ask you to do is to please listen to this little definition with a very open mind. Most of my clients are Christians. As a result, we've heard this term agency thrown around, and lots of people use the term agency as a way to indicate that you have choice. Let me explain this. Agency is the power to act righteously. Just get that down. It is the power to act righteously. For some, agency is the right to choose as they wish. In agency, however, the choice of how to act has already been made. The right to choose is not the same as the ability to choose. Let me give you an example. Let's pretend, for example, that I'm a football quarterback. Well, frankly, I'm undefeated in most Turkey Bowls. I think I've only lost one Turkey Bowl since I was married. So that's a pretty good streak. Therefore, I'm highly qualified to play quarterback, at least in a Turkey Bowl. But let's argue, for the sake of this agency explanation, that the Miami Dolphins come a courting. When they court me, they sign me to a contract with them to play for them. All right. That means I'm no longer a free agent, but a captured agent. And in the terms of the Christian belief, it's a moral agent, right? You're not free agent, you're a moral agent. You've already made your decision. So Miami has me under contract. I wear the teal and the orange. And then the Seahawks call me to back up Russell Wilson. And they say, Himmer, look, we know you're virtually undefeated in Turkey Bowls. We need you to back up Russell Wilson. We'll pay you twice what Miami is paid. Can I play for the Seahawks on Sunday? So let me ask it this way. Do I have the ability to put a Seahawk uniform on and play for the Seahawks on Sunday? Yeah, I do. I have the ability. Do I have the right? No, I don't have the right. I'm under contract. You see, if I'm a Christian, then I've already committed to being a Christian. That means I'm going to follow the 10 Commandments, right? I no longer have the right to sin. God doesn't create man to give him a right to sin, but He gives you the ability to sin. I don't have the right to steal. I don't have the right to commit adultery. That's a violation of the contract that I signed up. I don't have the right to play for the Seahawks. That's a violation of my contract. Agency is the power for me to act righteously. In addiction, just so you understand, when you're addicted, your agency gets suspended. You don't even have the capacity to make healthy decisions. Alcoholics aren't living in agency. They don't have the power to act righteously. They're compromised. And they're compromised to the maturity level which the original trauma happened. So if they believed at age 2 that they had no worth, that they're powerless, helpless, and hopeless, that's the maturity level that they're operating at as an alcoholic. And then their subconscious hijacks them to drink the alcohol so they can medicate the pain away. Notice the pain never goes away. It only increases. That's why it gets worse. Now, let's figure out what righteousness means, because this is a non-religious term. If agency is the power to act righteously, what does that word mean? Righteousness is not a quality, but a relationship based on mutual trust and respect. Stop. Agency is the power to develop a relationship based on mutual trust and respect. And when we define love, you'll find that love, and it's biblically oriented as well, is mutual trust and respect, because love is conditional. God's love is conditional, and we'll cover that a little bit later. A righteous person acts justly. Righteousness and justice are at times synonymous. The result of righteous living is trust and peace. Now, there's a reference here from the Complete Jewish Bible, Isaiah 32:17. Righteousness narrows the gap to happiness and joy. It is living in a state of well-being. So hopefully that part, it makes sense. Now let's go to well-being and understand what it means. Well-being is emotional, physical, and spiritual safety. I have dealt with clients who've been emotionally abused, physically abused, and spiritually abused. Yes, there is a huge segment of society who are engaged in spiritual bullying. The rigidity of Western religion organizations. I get that there needs to be rules, but those people implementing said rules are violating their agency. They're losing credibility because they don't have trust and respect. They're not inviting people to Christ. They're commanding people to Christ. They're demanding they follow. They're telling them. That's not how God works. That's not how a leader works. Leaders don't command and demand. First responders, that's different. That's transactional. Transformational leaders invite. That's why they're leaders. They see people as humans, not as objects. So, well-being is a state where self-trust and self-respect are omnipresent. It is civility with boundaries. Now, we can't finish this one until we understand what peace means. So we're going to go to peace. That's the final one of this cluster. How would it be to live in a state of peace? Peace is a state of good emotional, physical, and spiritual health. It is a loving relationship between individuals, within families, communities, and nations. Peace is neither the peaceful nor the pacifist, but rather the peacemaker. Pacifists do a lot of harm. If someone comes into my space as a pacifist, I know they're not peaceful. They're a pacifist, which means they have an agenda. They're not neutral. Pacifists are responsible for many people's deaths. Peacemakers are different than pacifists. Peacemakers are armed with neutrality, can soothe others, and know how to create safe space. Rules of engagement. All right. Thanks for listening to this one. That was a lot of fun.